Hello everyone, welcome to the International Day of Light 21st. I'm Exodus from Hong Kong. Currently, I'm an international transmedia astronomer and the International Committee of International Dark Sky Association. So today I would like to share with you some tips about promoting dark sky protection. I'm sure that many of you might be amateur astronomer or astronomy educator or even astrophotographer. So today I would like to share with you some of the tips, the basic tips for beginners if you would like to promote the light sky protections. As we all know that one people, one sky, but we are always looking to raise the awareness of people to aware of the urban light pollution, to be aware of the artificial lights, and be aware of the outdoor lighting. So today we'd like to focus on how could we promote the dark sky protections for people. So okay, just a second. I'd like to simply okay, here we go. So you can say, so today focus would be, thank you for Cosmic Tribes for the invitation. So okay, what is light sky protections? As we all know that we are all curious about dark sky protection. So what is light sky protections? It should begin with the personal awareness. We should all know about some stargazing manner. So what is stargazing manner? First of all, it would be related to the usage of laser pointer. We should be cautious, not being affect other people, not affect other people, other observer when they're observing the through the telescopes or taking records about the dark sky objects. So we should be aware of the laser pointer, and remember, we should never use the flash photography. We should always be respectful to other observers in order to have consensus on the usage of light. And it's strongly encouraged to use the red lights during the stargazing activities. You could just simply add a red light paper on the torch to ensure that the light is red, do not affect other people, other observers. So it's really important to build up your personal awareness. So secondly, it talks about the responsibility. So for the observation, we always wish to reduce the light pollution. And there will be some application. For example, we always think about the sustainability approach. You could make reference from the United Nations 17th Sustainability Goals. More than that, we could also be aware of the artificial lighting at the country park or in the urban area. More than that, we should monitor the index of the dark sky index. In Hong Kong, we would have some agencies to take records from different regions, different districts about the dark sky index. More than that, we will also consider to motivate more people, to encourage more advocates to engage, and we try to promote the message to the general public. So we do have a responsibility to be aware of the light sky protections. Okay, more than that, we should be open-minded, especially talking about the astrophotography. We should be patient for when we are rating for the bad weather, and we should also ensure that the persistence. We should be persistent on the image processing for the deep sky objects, and also try to interact with the nature, to think in different perspectives. For example, we consider the natural environments, we consider other observers, we consider the educators, the general public. Try to put yourself into other shoes. And we should always be grateful to have a good opportunity to observe the sky. It would be really impressive So more than that, we talked about the technology. What should we prepare before having an astrophotography journey? So we should prepare, be aware of the weather forecasts. For example, preparing the astrophotography sets, your tripod, your telescope, your all your materials. Remember to bring sufficient battery for taking the pictures, and also we should consider the dark sky detection. So there will be uh, some index for making reference for taking pictures or having detections. For example, the Bortle scale. We consider the difference. We consider the difference index, the different situation, comparing the rural area and the urban area. How we could see the deep sky objects as the reference point, and consider the seriousness of the light pollutions. So we could also use some software. For example, let me see, there's some online software to have some preparation to consider, for example, the stellarium sky map in your cell phone. Make use of it, and having some reference for the preparation of the dark sky or the object you would like to take pictures of. For example, if you like to take picture of the Milky Way galaxy in summertime, so you could use the software to predict time, to have some simulation of better preparation of which time is the most suitable moment for taking pictures. You could also consider the weather forecast, considering that in Hong Kong the weather might not be really stable in some seasons. So it's really important to having well prepared before having an astrophotography journey. So it's really important. So more than that, we should also consider the education. So we always wish to raise awareness of the general public to be aware of the night sky protections. As we all know, in Hong Kong, there will be a lot of environmental protections issues or the natural phenomenon issues. So it really takes time. We really need our efforts. So to have a great impact on raising awareness of the night sky protections and the awareness of the light pollutions issues. So we could make use of some general events. For example, the sidewalk astronomy. We gather people with different backgrounds. We just set up a telescope at the open area, and so you encourage people to engage, to observe the astronomical objects, encourage people to share with them some basic knowledge about astronomy, some your personal experience about astrophotography, or some stargazing manner to the general public. So sidewalk astronomy might be interactive, especially when there will be some astronomical phenomenon, annual phenomenon, let's say. So it's really important. So the second one would be the stargazing camp. It's really great that we could have an opportunity to have an overnight observation of the dark sky objects. So more than that, we could also consider the thematic sharing for the online conference, for the workshops, for some sharing at NGOs, elementary school or secondary schools. More than that, we should also consider some field trip to interact with students or interact with educators or environmentalists, different people, to have a basic observation of the light pollution issues, or even having a trip to understand how we could operate an astronomical events. So it's really important. Okay, to furthermore, we should also consider the cooperation of people with common ideas, with consensus. So it's really important to cooperate with people, gather people. For example, some astronomical organizations in your community. For example, different schools, different universities, different societies. So I'm always wish to build a dark sky community. As for example, there will be some international organizations, International Dark Sky Association. We always wish to gather the advocates with the consensus of dark sky protections, and we always wish we always certify. We always have some certification on some qualified international dark sky pace, and we also always wish to promote the message of the dark sky protections in International Dark Sky Week in every April. So it's really encouraging that there will be a lot of engagement through the online engagement, and we are having interactions through the online platforms. So it's really encouraging that we could have some interactions. Okay. Further, that consider the International Astronomical Union, so I would say it would be really encouraging that there would be a lot of amateur astronomers and experts about astronomy, and there will be a lot of activities about dark sky protections, the dark sky ambassadors community, followed by the Astronomy Without Borders. A lot of people with consensus on dark sky protections and promoting popular science. So we all know that astronomy could be connected with STEM education, connected to dark sky protections, and also connected to popular science. So it's really important to motivate the general public to know more about the importance of the popular science, how science could affect our daily life. So it's really important. The globe at night. So actually, it would be a citizen science project, so to say. It would gather people to connect data from different regions. For example, some data of the light pollution issues in Hong Kong comparing to the US, Europe, China, Australia. So there will be a lot of data. So connecting from different countries, different regions, different cities. So and they will make some reference about comparing different countries, whether they could see some particular deep sky objects, whether they could see some particular astronomical objects, or they try to take pictures and encourage the general public to engage as citizen scientists. So it's really encouraging that we always wish to raise the awareness at the same time to call for actions. We always wish the general public to really, really engage in promoting the dark sky protections. Besides the promotions or sharing the ideas through the social media. So it's really encouraging to motivate people to share their experience, share their observation, share the data, share the photography about the actual situation in their living area. So we try to gather all this data and to have some analysis. So Globe and Night might be like really good organizations to connect some data for having analysis. So okay, so yeah, followed by the traditional culture. So we always, as we all know, that astronomy might be related to some, I would say, the cultural environment. So as there will be a lot of traditional culture, and it will be related to the heritage conservation. So, for example, there will be some places which is really special, are really almost the best places for having observation or conducting some astronomical research about studying some cosmology. I would say the observational astronomy. So there will be some scientists or astronomers conducting some research, make using of the observatory to take pictures and to conduct some research about studying the galaxies and some nebula and some different data. So some places might be the National Dark Sky Park. So it could be some country park. It would be some places which is really, really, really far from the urban area. So we all understand that there are differences between the urban area and the rural area. So I would say there will be a gap between the city and the country's park. So when we are always talking about the civilization and the development of the city, there will be some impacts, some adverse impacts to the environmental region. So yeah, it's really important to always being monitored, always being aware of the actual development of the city. It might affect the natural environments, I would say the ecosystem, the animals living places, and also we also consider some light sky issues. Some people might we need to get to really far places. For example, in Hong Kong, it is really hard to see the deep sky objects or even the Milky Way galaxy in the central city, in Tsim Sha Tsui or in the Hong Kong in the central area. So it's really difficult to see it. So most of all, we might have to travel to some, I would say, some isolated island or some far places. For example, Sai-Kung, which is a really far rural areas from the central city. So it's really hard to see or taking pictures for the Milky Way galaxies for the astronomy lovers, or even we are trying to promote astronomy through organizing some stargazing camp. It's really difficult to promote it. So some places or some countries are trying to launch some astro-tourism, to launch some travel for astronomy, for example, in Australia or in New Zealand, some places, or US, China, some places, there will be some astro-tourism. It could be conducted by the International Dark Sky Association or supported by the UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organizations, or launching some observational lights, so to promote astronomy. So it's always what we are trying to do in Hong Kong, as we are having the Astro Park in Sai-Kung in the rural area. So it will be a private region launched by the Hong Kong Space Museum. So there will be some observational events, and we gather people, astronomy lovers, general public, for some special authorization or some special qualifications to allow people to have a relatively protected area for having observations. So having observation. So it's very important. So there'll be a lot of different things about the traditional culture. So yeah, as we're always looking for the application for the astronomy. So okay, more than that, we always talk about the imaginations for astronomy. So every time when we see the seasonal constellations, we saw the stars, and it will be related to some ancient mythology, some stories about some, for example, Greek, Egypt, or some Greek or some different mythology and stories, ancient stories. So especially for some photographer, they really like to take pictures about the nightscape photography. So it's really important, not simply taking pictures about the astronomical objects, but we are trying to study it through. It's really important to have basic understanding rather than taking pictures about the Milky Way galaxies. We try to know about the name of that stars, about the story, about some basic information, some celestial information. So it's very important when we are trying to take pictures about the deep sky objects and also the lightscape photography. So it's really important. More than that, there will be some astronomical phenomenon. For example, there would be a lunar eclipse, total lunar eclipse in Hong Kong, or in Asia, in some Europe, or in some places in US or in Australia. In After a week, there will be a lunar eclipse phenomenon, and it's really encouraging it strongly encourage you to engage in, to bring your telescope or bring your simple camera to take pictures about the total lunar eclipse. So it's really encouraging, especially that when there would be some astronomical phenomenon, it always gather people, lovers about space, or to take pictures and to share the experience, to enjoy the moment. As we all know that the COVID situation, but we always wish to gather people with common interests. We always make use of the online broadcast to take record of the whole process of the lunar eclipse. So it's really encouraging. Okay, last but not least, we always talk about the personal health. As we all know that there might be some adverse effects caused by the urban light pollutions. For example, there will be some scattered glare lights. So uh, actually caused by the design of the lighting, the setting. So there will be some scattered light which might cause our which might irritate our eye for the adaptation of the night sky environment. As we all know that when we are preparing for the night sky observation, we really have to wait for some while for the adoption of our eye to be able to sustain the observation, the pupil to sustain the observation. So if there be some external or artificial light, it might affect our observation or inconvenient in our observation. So, for example, the light trespass and also the light glitter and also the sky glow. For example, the sky glow will be some reflected light gathered at the cloud, and when we are looking up to the sky, I would say the contrast, the light contrast was really strong comparing to the underground. So uh, all of the city, all of that regions, particular regions, would be really, really, really irritated. So it might not be able to have observation on astronomy. So I would say it would be some external factors caused by the urban light pollution. So okay, lastly, we talked about the landscape protection. For the end, we talk about the natural environment. So if you really figure out the important things, you can see that I've simply gathered all this point with the first letter of the PROTECTION. So it's the hidden message for to let you to memorize all these things, to gather all these items. So we always talk about the natural environments. Uh, there will be some like life animal. So we might disturb it. We might disturb their biological activity. For example, the turtles. There will be some extension of the fireflies, insects, some flying insects. So considering that they are always attracted by the strong lights or with lighting contrast items, so it might cause the extinction when they are trying to surround to fly through all these items. They couldn't be able to leave the area and they might be extended to maintain their surrounding along the object. So there might be also have some adverse effects of birds, for example, some owl or some the natural insects. It's because for example fireflies uh, they're really weak to have their lighting. So if we're using strong lights, they might not be able to adaptive to the strong light. So consider the birds. Uh, we might affect their general hunting and also their biological activity, and also for the birds, if you are trying to use strong light focus on them, they might be easy to be discovered by other predators. So we have already disturbed the ecosystem. I will consider as the predator cycle. So predator and prey cycle. So we might disturb the biological, their hunting, the biological cycle, and also at the ecosystem, we break the laws of it. So it might lead to some decline of the numbers of insects and birds or some like live animals. So it's really important. Should you have any problems, and please feel free to email me, or if you have any question about astronomy or dark sky protections. And thank you for listening this video, and so happy to see all of you, and wish you all enjoy the International Day of Lights. So wish we could have some sharings and interactive opportunity in the future. Thank you.